Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It is true, from time to time, I harp on the idea that 1% differences, they add up, right? They become major differences in the final outcome of images. And that's what you want to focus on. Once you've got the basics down, once you've got the foundation of what is going to make a nice image, how are you going to separate yourself from the pack, from the other minions doing this job? Can I do these little tiny 1% choices? Can I make them early and often and make them easy enough to actually execute? Because if I do enough of them, guess what? What's 1 times 10? We're not math people, cinematographers, but you can guess it, right? It's going to be 10% better. Oh, yes, it could be 10% better. Now, what does 10% better look like over something that's not 10% better? Well, we're not going to compare and contrast today. I'm just going to show you something where in the Monuments Men, which this is a small snippet of a breakdown that is much larger. You get breakdowns every week over on Patreon. Help support the channel. Make sure we can keep doing these things. All that good stuff. Link is in the description below. The point of looking at this is very skilled cinematographer. How do we add up 1 or 2% little differences multiple times to get to the final image that is actually pretty good? This is what we're going to look at. So we're going to look at something that's really good, then you can compare it against your own stuff and you realize, wait a second, like I'm not doing 1 or 2 of the little 1% things wrong. I'm getting the 50% wrong right at the beginning. That's a different channel. That's a different channel. I'm hoping that you've got that main foundation thing down so that you can come along with me on this journey of how to go from kind of not terrible to just a little bit better. And if you're a little bit better, guess what? Everybody else is worse than you. So you can use that leverage, right? Use it to get yourself a little career. Okay, let's have a look-see. So this is, we have talked about these scenes many times, and probably why I wanted to do this one now when I actually saw it was because this whole film has a combination of scenes that we have looked at time and time again. This just does it really well, and it doesn't always do it in the exact same way either. So there's a little tiny differences in there that make the difference and that put on what I would say is the Hollywood slick. Trying to think the last time we have looked at something this slick, I would say would maybe be, did we do Suicide Squad? Something by the Russian guy whose name is slipping me at the moment, but he also did Fury. This is just, it's got all of the layers that you would expect from something that is really well done. So nighttime stuff, we know this is oftentimes the most difficult for new cinematographers because you are tempted to fill this all in. Like, oh, let's put like a top light up here so, so we can feel the shadows, and not knowing the range of your camera. And then usually having a colorist attached, right? As you're lower on the budget scale, you're not going to have as good a colorist, so they're not going to know where to place these things either. That's a problem, right? And you're looking at this, I'm recording this, the screen capture system. It does bring down the blacks a little bit and does funky things. Just know, if you watch Monuments Men, the balance is the key, because the balance is what we're going to be looking at this for most of the film. Now, we're shooting into the L of the room. The way that this thing is set up, we've got our shears, nice blue shears, plus combination of curtain, the angle of the bed relative to the action, right? We're shooting along the action. All those things are standard, right? This is standard. Now, one thing that is not standard is this little combination here of having the door go the same way as the bed, because on our exit, that means we can have that much more depth out there, right? Because this is supposed to be a dark scene. So already, once you have access to sets and you can start thinking about these things and you're reading the script going, okay, George Clooney's there, he turns off the light in the kids' room, he exits the room. As a cinematographer, you're not thinking, you are thinking about story, but you're also thinking about, okay, well, how do I make this interesting? This big dark room. What you don't want is even if you're location scouting and you're shopping for a location, you don't want this to just be a hallway with a big white wall on it, right? We want to try to fill in layers. And you also don't want this to be flat and then George Clooney to have to go this way out the room, because then how are we going to get this shot? We're going to have to get this shot from over here, camera this way, facing this way at the door that is over on this other wall over here. And then this shot becomes that much flatter, right? We need it to have a little bit of depth, and to get that depth, we do this. Now, we're pushing our blue light through this thing, right? Now, it's tricky. Is this light here that is coming through the shears the same one that is doing this work? Maybe. And the reason I say maybe is because what might happen, depending on the curtains that you have in a situation like this, the worst thing that can happen is you're like, okay, well, let's just push a little bit of blue light through here, and that will do exactly like I saw in Monuments Men. If that doesn't happen, right, if you have different combination of shears or curtains or the way these things are ruffled, this light is going to go all over these walls over here. And then you're just going to have this soft, bluey mess. And soft bluey mess doesn't sell nighttime. What sells nighttime is hard light. Hard, and in this case, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you say it out loud, but it's hard soft light, right? Directional soft light. You don't want it bleeding everywhere in the background, right? You want to have these little pools of the light. And this is also a great combination of colors here. It doesn't feel too over the top blue. Yes, it is quite blue. And all the night stuff is Alexa. All the day stuff is 35 millimeter. But I like this combination here of kind of blue and kind of orange, right? Helped by, not by the color of the light, right? Not by like white balance, but the color of the shade helps there just to add some warmth besides just the warm light. So we're pushing this light this way, and then watch the little tiny thing to think about here is, let's play this through here. So we go to his close-up. Again, look at how we've got this line going up the wall of interest. And then the light doesn't bleed over here to George's face, right? We're creating this really harsh line on him. And this is a masterclass in making choices on the day and being like, no, this is what we're going to do because I want the person to look here. Not waiting until later to say like, oh, we can save it in the grade if we wrap it around a little bit and then we'll bring it down later. No, this is making a choice on the day. This is where we want them to look, and these are the powerful things we need to set up in pre-production to make it so. Also, this little frame that is just here, we've got little frame, which adds some geometric pattern to the background. Then we've got the light. Then we've got this hard light not wrapping around. Okay, from there we keep going, and we play it out. Now we cut to little boy's face, which again, we've set up the color, and we've set up the background in the wide shot. This is easy. All we're going to really do here is if you go back and you look at the wide shot, we're just softening off this light, whatever this is. You know, you put a little frame in front of it and you just push it this way. Danger here being we get too hot on the pillow. If you do get too hot on the pillow, right, you set up your 4x frame this way or maybe something smaller, like a little 2x frame, just so that you can push a little bit of softer light towards him. If you do start to get like a hot pillow here, you just put a net right there, right? Get a little net or a little cutter, and then that will allow this light to push over the top, but it won't get too much on the pillow. Here, we're pushing that blue light over the edge. So we got combination backlight and our wrapping around here. Very, very nice looking frame. Here is where the magic happens though. Little tiny touch. Again, amateur hour would be, let's fill this in, right? Professional, knowing what the levels are that you can hold. Now, you already see it start to come on here, right? You see this little thing here? Because right, really it's just a wash of black now, right? We don't have much toppy come down light here. It's really just coming from the outside and then this crack out here. Now, again, think back to when we talked about if this door wasn't here, completely different frame, right? Boring frame, terrible frame because he's about to walk out into blackness. Now you can feel it. He steps over into this light and you can feel this top light, right? Tiny, tiny little top light just coming from in here inside the room that's just pushing over the shoulder and the top of the head to create that silhouette. It's not powerful enough to where a normal person goes, wait, where's the light coming from? But you can see even as he rolls underneath the door frame, you know, it gets hotter as he gets closer to it, but it's not affecting anything. You can't really sense the light anymore because we're not getting anything on the ground here. We're not seeing George's feet where there would be a shadow on the ground or something like that. We're just pushing it through enough. So a combination of framing and smart choices of having this door frame here so that he has something to walk through rather than just walk off frame right, okay? From there, we go to even walking shots like this, right? Like if you get the height right, you get all these little interesting stuff in the background, right? Very, very nice. You're getting edges from outside of the pillars, right? This is like, oh, this seems like a really easy shot. But all along the way, you're getting these edges and you're not heating this up too much. You're just doing it just enough. You don't want to hit too much light on the pillars. You want just enough to be able to pull him out from the background, but not light up the pillars too much. Make the switch. Come around. This one's fairly easy. Just again, looking at what is lit up in the background versus what is not lit up. And the key thing here, or the interesting bit here, is that as he's walking along, let's see. So we go cut to, yep. So notice back here, that little pool of light, right? These little tiny pools of light. We're not getting it everywhere. It's not a big wash of frame. Little highlights down this way. Light to dark all across this frame. And then his exposure from here, from the middle of this pillar to the middle of this pillar stays the same, okay? You don't want big changes in the light or else it starts to feel sourcey. He comes around, gives us the look. No light coming from this way, all the light wrapping around. And he's in. All right, that is the Monuments Men. Fade and Pop and Michael is good, and it's going to take you a long time to get that good. But if you can do one of those 1% things, you're already on the right track. Let's add those up together. And what you're going to find out very, very quickly is, well, those 1% things, they actually take a lot of time, right? Adding 1% to the image, it's going to take a lot of time to set it up. I have to know this stuff in advance. What if I want to do 2 of those things? Oh, it's going to take even more time. How do I get more time on set? Well, I need to bring forward my decisions for what it's going to look like on the day. So the more stuff I can bring into the present, so I can plan, I can tell everyone in the team that this is what we're going to execute, the more of that I can do earlier on, the higher the chances are that I'm able to get all those things done on the day. So in order to get 3, 4 different things in the same scene done, you have to know well in advance. You got to be very prepared, very ready to go. And the way that you do that is you look at other people's stuff, what works, what doesn't work, you decide, you make a plan, you stick to it. Ta-da, the glory is yours. You have reached a new level of cinematography. Well done, you. Okay, that's going to do it for this one. Many thanks. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.